right. Yeah, welcome. We've got Younes here with us on the call. Okay, Younes, what's the topic? What's the question? What's
Yes,
yeah, what's up?
uh, I, I wanted to ask about something which I think is grasping the teaching the wrong way. Uh, it's uh, it's more of an idea, of a view that I have, where sometimes I'll find myself in in some situations that bring up unwholesome thoughts or other hindrances. And maybe I'll get in those situations out of boredom because that's usually how it starts. But I'll actually feel like I'm stuck with those unpleasant situations because I think I have to uh, grind through them, so to speak, as a way like to grow and practice. Yeah, like we hear a lot of times uh, that some unpleasant situations they're an opportunity to practice, which I tend to believe, but that's mostly when we don't really have a choice because it's some circumstances. But these ones are like the ones that can be left, like a toxic relationship, or yeah, like just hanging out some unwholesome environments, like going to yeah, like to a place filled with like with people that are up to no good, basically. uh, and yeah, maybe like I'm my body, like my mind is telling me, hey, it's a good thing like to leave because this is uncomfortable, but then I'll hold on to the teaching, thinking that actually this is not uncomfortable, I should stay here, I shouldn't be bothered by what these people say, I shouldn't be bothered by this situation, so let me stay here until I'm not bothered. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, so uh, yeah, we don't have to put up with things, especially things that are not worthwhile to put up with. Now, there are times, yeah, there can be sort of a pointing to where it's like, oh well, what about when the body is sick, or what about when we're we're stuck in traffic and we just can't get out, right? But even in those scenarios, there are still ways to practice getting the body more comfortable, uh, practicing, being safe, for example. So, if we're stuck in traffic, we can pull over to the side of the road and just sit and wait there instead of in the midst of all the honking and angry drivers and things like this. We can just sit and wait for the traffic to pass. Bring the body and mind back to peace, back to being calm. We can enjoy the practice. And when we feel okay, yeah, things are okay, we can do this, we can get back on the road easily and in an easygoing way, not being in such a rush. So the same thing too is true with sickness. There are ways to make the body more comfortable, perhaps a cup of hot tea, or adjusting the pillow beneath the neck, or changing the body's posture, or massaging the neck, massaging the limbs. Now, none of these things are necessarily going to cure the sickness, yeah, but they'll still bring about a bit of comfort. And it's worthwhile to practice that and have that be a part of practice. Okay. Another way we can put it is to sort of practice restfulness. That's
Something
sort of,
that
yeah, go ahead.
something that you brought to mind there, maybe an example that could be familiar with people listening is, I mean, I've done it in the past, so I don't know if other people do it too. But like when meditating, maybe we feel uncomfortable while sitting meditating, and yeah, like these thoughts come up, and we're like, okay, we should endure this, like keep staying in this like in this position. We shouldn't move. We should like not be bothered by our legs hurting, like stay here. And yeah, there is like this idea that we can like grow from enduring the pain, basically. Almost like asceticism. But yeah, these are like simple. These are like some simple examples, but sometimes it becomes more twisted. I would say it's like uh, I interpret the signal of my body that says, "Hey, this is uncomfortable. Let's get out of this physical position." That's a simple example, but also like a situation, like maybe emotional situation, could be like some like a relationship, or just hanging around with some people, and you're like, okay, I'm uncomfortable hanging around these people. They're up to no good. Let's get out of here. Uh, and so there is like the tendency to interpret that let's get out of here as like a weakness, of yeah, just if I listen to that, then I will want to listen to it all the time, and I will have no choice. Basically, that's how it feels. Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, the Buddhist teaching is not get out all the time. It's not hop from here to here to there and just keep going and keep going, right? It's get out when it's worthwhile to get out, essentially. It's more so the middle way. And really, this idea of endurance is actually trying to commit to not making a change. It's basically seeing and recognizing that the wheel is still spinning, and let's just keep spinning. Instead of saying, hey, we can make a wholesome change here. We don't have to keep spinning around in circles. We don't have to keep the mind running wild. We don't have to endure. In fact, we can make a change. And sometimes that can just work as a change in attitude. Hey, instead of enduring this, let's take it easy.
Mm.
Let's recognize this is okay, actually. This is all right. It's a
Yeah.
big part of what makes something feel like an endurance is our attitude. I mean, climbing up a mountain can be peaceful. It can be restful. There doesn't have to be this pushing. But on the other hand, we also can take a break. We can sit down.
Yeah. So about this, like what I've talked about so far, is definitely not something that you will be in danger of misinterpreting from Dhammarato. There are other Buddhist teachers online, like a popular one is Hillside Hermitage, and yeah, those they tend to have more of that vibe of ascetic endurance. If you misinterpret them, or
Okay, so let's talk for a moment about asceticism, and let's use a particular example. Okay, so one form of asceticism that the Buddha allowed for would be, if you'd like to be a vegetarian, that's okay. Yeah, if a bhikkhu wants to be vegetarian, that's all right. That's allowed. There's nothing wrong with that. In a way, though, that's not necessarily an easygoing way to be, because That means there's a whole lot of food that they can't eat if they commit to being a vegetarian. Right? But this sort of thing, this sort of diet, it can be, enjoyable for some people. Maybe they just like the way, vegetarian food tastes, for example, or they like the way that it makes their body feel. Right? It's not a hard asceticism like walking on burning coals. Right? Um, it's not a hard asceticism like sleeping on a bed of nails. Yeah. A little bit of asceticism is okay. A little bit of saying, hey, you know what? We can go without that is okay. Like saying, hey, we can go without eating meat. That's okay. Now, when we sort of look at our own lives and we look at the different ways that we might practice asceticism, this is kind of something to keep in mind, is it's like we can do it in an easygoing way. And there doesn't need to be this grinding or this endurance about it, but rather we can have a change in attitude of, oh, being vegan for a little while or being vegetarian, that actually sounds nice. Let's try it out. Let's give it a go. Let's see how it goes. And we actually don't have to commit to it or make any sort of promise with our asceticism. We don't have to say, oh, I'm going to be vegetarian for the remainder of my life. We can just play with it instead. In fact, that might be a fun game for some people to play is, hey, I can be a vegetarian today and tomorrow I won't be. Another example would be walking without shoes. Yeah. Or another example that some monks, some bhikkhus have committed to is a sort of more modern day example would be not traveling in cars, but preferring to primarily get around by walking. Yeah, this is okay. If someone wants to do that, there's nothing wrong with that. That's all right. But you can see when we're talking about this is not something that's going to really harm the body.
Mhm.
This is not something that's in any way meant to actively bring about discomfort.
Yeah, because
Again, the only real challenge is, okay, yeah, feel free to practice whatever ascetic practices that are, let's say, reasonable, but have a nice attitude about it, have a joyful attitude about it, have a playful attitude about it.
Mhm.
And be restful with that approach to it. There doesn't need to be this hard approach, this grinding approach.
Yes, uh, and so there is that ascetic view, which, yeah, like the Buddha said, some asceticism is okay if someone wants to do that and they think they can get a benefit out of it. And that, the asceticism is not talked about with Dhammarato a lot, of course, which it's not like a problem. But what I wanted to point out is that there is also another way of misinterpreting what I've heard from Dhammarato, which is like a more like passivity. So if I get into like those situations, maybe I start hanging around in bars with like unwholesome, like an unwholesome environment, or like with criminals and whatnot. And like the wisest thing to do would be to leave. But I could also like start telling myself, oh, let's do drugs with a wholesome attitude. Let's keep hanging around here with a wholesome attitude. It's okay. It's okay to to drink until we pass out. It's okay to just keep frequenting these people that make me miserable. And yeah, like, because it's not the people, it's not a problem with the drugs and the people, it's my attitude. So, let's stay here, because yeah, I
So,
can
so
practice.
this is where we would point to. It's not as if right attitude is the only aspect of the path, right? It's a noble eightfold path. Okay. And yeah, part of how it is taught is, at least by Dhammarato, is that with wisdom, we can come to see before we take these sort of actions that, that is not worth doing. Okay. So for example, drinking until we pass out. Well, we don't have to do that. Okay. I've never done that before. Okay. But I know that that's not worth doing. That puts the body in danger, could get sent to the hospital, that puts other people in, with the responsibility of taking care of me. There's all these downsides to drinking until we pass out. You know, if we're getting that drunk, we might get into a fight or do something that we wouldn't want to do. We might injure ourselves, right? Severely, even. Yeah. I mean, people who do that, I mean, those are the type of people that die from drinking, right? Okay, I don't have to do any of that, and neither do you, and neither does anyone else, to see with wisdom, oh yeah, that's not worth doing. And then the other thing to say is, we don't need to take it to extremes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Drinking until we pass out, that's an extreme. Saying, it's okay if we have a sip. That really is not a big deal. And that's also part of the teaching, right? Is bringing it to right now. Is to bring it to what are we doing right now? I mean, drinking until we pass out, that's a lofty goal. That's sort of a really kind of a long-term thing. That takes several drinks. Yeah. But if we say, hey, we can have one sip of this drink and then set it down and be done with it, yeah, don't really see much harm there. Don't really see much of an issue there. And we can leave the bar. So, the teaching is not saying, oh, we can get away with whatever we want as long as we do it with a wholesome attitude. In fact, what it's actually saying is we don't need to derive satisfaction from what it is that we're doing. So there's no need to do these sort of endurance tests. There's no need to set up some sort of challenge. And in fact, the practice that the Buddha teaches is not a challenge. It's not a fight. It's not a struggle. It's a game to play. And it's a cure. It's a medicine. It's nurturing. This is what makes it so worthwhile, is that it's good. It's nice. It's comforting. It's peaceful. I mean, is that not the perspective of basically everything in the world? Is that, you have to challenge yourself in order to be happy? You have to meet this goal, this standard? You have to finish by this deadline? And the Buddha's rejecting all of that. All of that is nonsense.
Yes. But what I meant is you can, I mean, of course, the drink until you pass out, those are some extreme examples. So like, yeah, using the grasping the teaching as a way to like get away with anything, that's how I would describe that. But there is also something else, which I think I would describe as like a passivity, where the right thing to do would be to leave, to like actually change an environment, to walk away. But if I grasp the teaching, so first of all, like I get in those situations, maybe out of boredom, I wasn't looking, I just sort of find myself there. But then like I
Well, you
stick
gave
around.
the key phrase away. You weren't looking.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Uh, but then like then I start looking and I think that I'm practicing, but really I'm just like staying in the situation when I don't need to. I could just leave, because there is this idea that, hey, like, uh, wanting to leave the situation is an unwholesome thought. The people around me that I'm hanging
Yeah,
out with
that's
now.
right. That's correct.
Yeah,
Yeah. Wanting to leave the
yeah,
situation is an unwholesome thought. Why?
yeah.
Because that's way too much effort. That's still grinding.
Hmm.
Still striving. That's still wanting. Instead, we can skip the wanting and we can just leave. We can recognize, oh, we can leave. Let's leave.
Hmm.
There's no need for wanting there. When there's a need for wanting, that's whenever rushing happens. Oh, let's rush out the door and trip over people on the way out. That's wanting to leave the
Mm-hmm.
bar. And then we fall on our face coming out the doorway. Instead, we can just recognize, oh, it's worth leaving, so let's leave.
Yeah, I guess it's thinking that the thought of leaving is unwholesome, and uh, the fact that we are bothered by what's happening around us, that's also unwholesome thoughts. We can stay there and be happy. Yeah, like that's what I meant. Like, uh, it's the grasp of the teaching is used to like stay in those situations where the wisest thing to do is to leave. Yeah, because sometimes the mind knows what to do, like the wisest thing to do, but I just interpret it as yeah, I just like go against it for some reason. It's like, no, I should not leave. That's what comes after this. Oh, I should not leave. Why am I being bothered by these people? Let's stay here until I'm not bothered anymore. Let's have
It
wholesome
sounds like
thoughts.
there's a wanting for asceticism. Yeah, we don't need that. And that's one of the easiest ways to put it is we can have these sort of thoughts of like, don't need that. Don't need this. Don't need it to be this way. We can, in fact, make a change. And it's okay to make a
Yeah,
change. In fact, it's worthwhile to make a change. And the practice is not just wholesome thoughts. The practice is very much related to environment.
yeah. So, yeah, like the most
We,
wholesome change would be to leave in that situation.
we,
Yeah,
we don't tell people to go practice anapanasati in a burning building.
yeah. But if they find themselves in a burning building,
That's a
like
great time
maybe
to practice.
yes, But if you grasp it wrongly, like sometimes I misunderstand it, you can also be like, oh, the toxic fumes, they're okay. I can breathe them in happily and stay there.
Well, here's another way to put it. The toxic fumes are okay, but we also don't need them. So with wisdom, we can see it's worthwhile to get away from these fumes,
Hmm.
to get away from this environment. And the same way, the bar is okay too. The bar's fine. You know, Dhammarato and I, we live on Kopangan. There's many bars here. There's a lot of partying. The partying's okay. We're not trying to stop it. We're not trying to close the show down. People can party. It's all right. But don't need that. Don't need to entertain that. Don't need to be around it. Not interested.
Yeah, don't need that. That's yeah, maybe what I'm lacking in those situations is just wisdom. Because yeah, like in hindsight, it seems pretty silly, but yeah, maybe it
That's
just
why
takes
we
time
we we
to see it.
practice remembering. We practice remembering to wake up, to pay attention, to look, to see. We're practicing seeing, practicing looking. You know, you use the senses, use the body. They're, you know, they're worthwhile tools to help us recognize, is this a worthwhile environment to practice in?
Yeah, it's um, yeah, with certain examples, like physical things, that's much easier, I would say. But yeah, like if it's, for example, some people that I started to hang out with, and I noticed that, hey, I don't feel very comfortable, like I should leave. But then I interpret that, oh, I don't feel comfortable, I should leave. I start interpreting that as a unwholesome thought. Because yeah,
Well, can have
yeah,
the thought, let's get comfortable, and just leave
mm,
it at that. Let's get comfortable. And that doesn't mean staying
mm,
necessarily. It's just saying, hey, let's incline the mind towards bringing comfort to the body. And let's get comfortable. Let's
mhm,
get safe. Let's get secure.
yes,
If that's not
yeah,
present, let's get that. Without that, practice cannot really be had.
mhm. Getting comfortable is yeah, you say getting comfortable does not mean, oh, you shouldn't leave. But in my mind, I don't know, they seem very close together. Like get comfortable, uh, getting comfortable in a situation seems to imply to stay there.
So this is the classic question of, should I stay or should I go? And so that, yeah, there is a pointing to a certain extent that someone who is well practiced can be comfortable at a bar, but they're not going to be drinking themselves all the way into passing out. Perhaps they're just there with family or whatever.
Mhm.
So, yeah, yeah, you're right that it's like our comfort is not entirely dependent upon the environment. But let's put it this way. if we have to expend a lot of effort and a lot of energy, creating a bunch of wholesome thoughts because we're in an environment that's not comfortable, such as a burning building or a chaotic bar. Is it worth it to spend that energy when we could just walk out the door? When we could just leave? This is where we get into right effort. And, basically, right effort can be put as enough effort to get the job done.
Mhm.
So if it's taking a lot of effort to feel comfortable in the mind in that burning building, then get out. But even still, with wisdom, we can already see it's worthwhile to get out.
Yeah. Yeah, there is like should I stay or should I go? That's the that's the question. And going sounds sounds almost like like by default it doesn't sound like a good idea. I mean, it does
Going is
sound,
not giving up.
yeah, sounds like giving up basically.
Okay. If anything, staying is giving up. Like,
Yeah.
well, I guess I'll just stay here, Okay. No, I mean, not really. That's not true either. It's just kind of a joke. But for many people, that is the case. They choose to stay because they can't find the energy to get out. They haven't practiced what is being taught here. And if we recognize what happens in the practice, that is a part of the practice, is we're able to bring an enthusiasm, to bring an energy to the mind that allows us to make these decisions in a restful way, in a way that's not overdoing it.
Yeah, staying does
So
can be seen in both ways, like
yeah,
giving up or enduring. Yeah, that's definitely something that I noticed. By default, I tend to think that staying is like that, quitting is giving up. But yeah, you're right that uh, like in some situations I'm staying there because like I kind of give up. So I'm staying there because I give up. And yeah, it's not
yeah, we don't
a
want to
pleasant.
look weird in front of our friends when we're just like, all right, guys, I'm out of here. It
Yeah,
breaks a social norm.
yeah,
But it's only weird the first time. The second, third, fourth, fifth time, your friends will start to get used to it. They'll be like, "Oh yeah, he's going. That's not a big deal." And then eventually, you might not come back. So that's kind of another part of the practice. Is just remember to bring the mind back to the breath.
Mhm.
That is kind of that does a few things. For one, it kind of gives us a break from the situation, gives us a break from maybe all of these different things that we're thinking. But it also gives the mind some oxygen to play with
Mhm.
so that we can more clearly see what's going on. So let's brighten up. That's the practice, yeah. Brighten up. Brighten the mind. Fly the mind to the wholesome.
Yeah, but that's sometimes that's temporary because yeah, let's keep the example of the chaotic bar with like some like let's keep that example. Maybe I'm feeling like very uncomfortable while staying in there, And yeah, like I remember, okay, let's bring the mind back to the breath and to the senses and relax. That's usually what I will do, you know. But then that will kind of imply staying there. I would like not welcome the question of, you know, should I stay or should I go? And it's just like by default, okay, let's stay here while we relax and try to enjoy this. You know, let's practice enjoying being here at the bar, uh, at the chaotic bar. And yeah, like
So
since I'm not very
another
practiced, that doesn't
another way
last
that
long.
another way that we can say it is, let's just practice enjoying the breath and not worry so much about if we're going to stay or if we're going to go. Let's take a moment right now. In fact, that's being invited right now in this moment, even when you're not at the bar. Take a moment to enjoy the breath. Take a moment to take it easy. When this is done, that decision becomes a lot easier to. And we're not stuck in this sort of judgmental mindset of which one is right, which one is correct. We're not even judging what is the unwholesome thing to do or the wholesome thing to do. Whether it's more so we're recognizing what's more wholesome in a situation. And we're not going to get it perfect. That's okay. In fact, bringing the mind to the breath, relaxing the body, taking it easy,
Mhm.
gladdening the mind. This makes it to where we can make those imperfect decisions very easily without so much friction, without feeling like we're enduring something or feeling like we're giving up, but rather just doing what makes sense, essentially. And again, there's no such thing as a perfect decision,
Mhm.
perfect choice, or a perfect way of doing things. The other aspect of that is that one could negotiate endlessly whether to stay or whether to go. And guess what? That whole time they spent negotiating, what were they doing? They were staying. So let's drop negotiating so much with ourselves in the mind. And instead, let's tell the negotiator, hey, let's take it easy. Let's take a moment. Just relax, to be at peace. It's okay. Everything's all right. To be nurturing. And in this way, when the mind is nurturing itself, and when there's a practice of nurturing the mind, a practice of nurturing the body, a practice of nurturing the breath, what kind of actions does that bring about? Nurturing
Yeah,
actions.
yeah, yeah. Like I've definitely seen that, like while practicing at home, you know, secluded. Uh, in this context, though, we are in a bar, you know. So while you're doing
So
this,
let's get out of
someone
this
cuts you
context then.
off.
Let's stay at home. Forget about the bar now. Let's stop negotiating about it. Because this, do you see what's going to happen is we're just going to keep negotiating.
Yeah, yeah, because like while you're relaxing, like someone is also like going to talk to you about something else, you know. that's why I brought the example of the bar, because the chaotic bar also means that there's people engaging with you and like talking with you.
Well, let's put it this way. If we have recognized at this point it's a chaotic bar, that's already a good enough clue. Hey, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's the recognition right there. It's like, oh, this is a chaotic bar. And now this is, no, it's just, that's already enough recognition to say, hey, let's get out of here. Same thing with the traffic. When the traffic's chaotic, I gladly pull over. Pull over to the side of the road, stop for a moment, let people go by, be in a rush. That's okay.
Mm.
In fact, today with our call, I told you, let's have a call at 5. Showed up a little later, 5:05 p.m. Why? Because stopped a few times. Let the traffic go by. That's okay. So pull over or get out of there.
Yeah.
Get out of the way of the chaos, of the fire. There's no need to let it hit you. Just to see if you can enjoy the burning sensation. There's no need for that kind of asceticism.
Yeah, asceticism, or I don't know how to call the other extreme of, staying there.
And that's still asceticism.
Mm.
You know, maybe you've heard of this movie, I think it's called The Terminal or something like that, where a guy has to stay in an airport. Has to live in an airport. You know, this sort of thing. It's like, that was a choice, really. At least the real story, if you read about the real guy that the movie's based on, it was really a choice by him to stay at the airport. And so the same thing is true with the bar. You want to go stay in a bar? You want to go live in a bar? Yeah, hey, someone can make that choice. People have. People have spend their whole lives staying at the bar. They kind of have, it's very much related to this idea of like dark night of the soul, or sort of facing the minotaur and the maze, facing the minotaur in the labyrinth. So it's like, if I can just face this demon, if I can face this monster that's within me, this thing that's saying, this is bothersome, if I can defeat that, then I'll be at peace. Whereas instead of trying to defeat that, we can make friends with it. And we can recognize, oh, this feeling of being bothered. I see that. It's nice to see that. In fact, thanks for showing up.
Mm.
Now, we don't need to feel bothered. We don't need to be bothered now. We can kind of just recognize that that's just another message of kind of a poking that's saying, hey, let's get out of here. Or let's at least look at what's really going on. When we're feeling bothered, pay attention to that. Pay attention to what's going on in the body and what's going on in the environment. That's not a bad thing to feel. That's not an enemy. That's not a monster. That's not a demon. That's just another thing pointing back to the practice, really.
Yeah.
And we can be thankful for that reminder of, oh, thanks for reminding us to practice, paying attention. Thanks for reminding us to wake up.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks for also reminding us we don't need to be bothered. In fact, that's what that That is what that bothering feeling is basically telling us. We don't need to be bothered. We can change this. Whether in the
Yeah.
mind or by changing the environment or a mix of both. And I mean, that really is sort of what it is anyways. It's a mix of both. We're not just applying the mind to the wholesome.
Yeah, because the bother also, we want to change it without looking. So yeah, it's.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Yeah, like when we get bothered by something, we want to change without looking, because we just want to get rid of the feeling of being bothered.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah,
Instead of playing with it.
Mhm.
Yeah. So there's no need to be bothered. Take it easy.
Mhm.
Practice being at rest. Being full of rest. Restful. Being at peace. Being okay. No need for any sort of extreme.
Mhm. Yeah, I can look at what is happening there, and looking doesn't mean to not change anything, like especially after you've looked. Yeah. Yeah, that's like another common misinterpretation. That Dhammarata, he doesn't, like, he always reminds us that it's a change model. But yeah, like a common thing to do at first would be like to just observe what's going on and like do nothing about it.
Yeah. Yeah, when people talk on this, because we'll even hear seasoned practitioners here mention something akin to this. And there is something sort of related to that that can happen, that we can say the practice sort of starts to happen naturally. In the same way that someone who is used to having unwholesome thoughts, who is in a habit of doing unwholesome actions, right, or is in the habit of, practicing endurance, and striving and wanting, this has essentially become natural for them. But so too, the practice can become natural. And this is worthwhile. This is why it's worthwhile to practice, is to practice really being natural in a wholesome way, in a way that's worth being. But it's not magical.
Yeah.
It's not just happening sort of out of thin air, or what some people will say is, oh, the practice happens automatically. It's like, well, I'm not sure about that word. It sounds very close to magically.
Mhm.
It's more so that the practice happens more naturally, more easily. So what we like to say is the practice actually, it gets easier. It doesn't get harder. If it's getting harder, that's it's a good sign we might be going in the wrong direction.
Yeah, and another example, like and it's not an example, but it's more of a like an analogy, that because like in the bar, for example, like the example I used of the bar, it's filled with people, it's chaotic, so it can be harder to practice because I'm used to like listening to what people say, and I cannot. It becomes a bit less natural for me to pay attention to what's going on inside and like pay attention to the senses
Yeah,
if
and
someone is talking to me.
in the way those things that the people are saying, those sort of become unwholesome thoughts
Yeah.
that bounce around, echo around in the mind a bit.
Yeah, so I was also thinking about it, like the analogy of being at the gym and trying to lift very heavy weights, because yeah, like the situation of being at a bar and like practicing, like thinking that uh, I can practice there. That's the same sort of attitude, or like thinking of someone that's like first week in the gym and wants to lift the heaviest weight. Uh, and yeah, like yeah, it's like, okay, I'm not leaving the gym until I can lift the heaviest weight. Basically, that's how it
Yeah,
sounds, and
yeah,
I just end up pretty much hurting myself. Like I don't really practice much when I'm in those situations. Um,
yeah. In fact, that can destroy the muscles. That can really do the opposite of what's intended.
yeah,
So,
and as you said, those like the what other people say in those contexts can become like some more unwholesome thoughts that get added because I'm just listening to what they're telling me, and yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's no need to be around that. Again, we can say that there's no need to be around that. And it's not like that's not going to happen at other places, right? And even being here on Damarano's porch, there will be people that come and say unwholesome things. I mean, we're not taking necessarily an extremist approach with that either. Like, oh, I can't be around people that say unwholesome things or who are unwholesome or this sort of thing, right? It's more so the middle way. It's like, well, let's not intentionally put
Yeah.
ourselves into that. And that way, it'll make it a lot easier for us to have the energy to to be in those situations, basically, and to sort of make wholesome decisions, make wholesome choices in those situations.
Yep.
Whereas when we're surrounded by chaos, trying to make wholesome decisions when there's just total chaos happening and trying to make one wholesome decision after another, it's not so easy. It's not worth it. It takes too much energy trying to do that.
Yes. And what usually kept me on those situations was the idea that I should be able to handle this. Again, like the person at the gym first week that wants to lift the heavy weights. Uh, yeah, I don't know how I would describe that attitude. Yeah,
Well,
can
it's really just it's another judgment of ourself and another expectation of ourselves. That's again not needed. Don't need to think like that. Don't need to think like that.
Hmm.
Don't need to be like that anyways. Don't need to be an endurer. That's not necessarily going to sharpen the practice anyways. Again, what what helps, maintain and sustain the practice is what? Practicing. And practicing well. That doesn't mean we need to practice in seclusion all the time. But, just look at your friends here. Look at how much time they spend in seclusion. Ask them. And Dhammarato hasn't left the porch in a long time.
Yeah. How long have you been practicing in seclusion, Mikey?
Not secluded currently. So not at all. No, we go, since I'm an English teacher now, it's not the same as it was before. So, spend quite a bit of time now sort of around students and this sort of thing. That, for people who have jobs and things like this, seclusion is a really fun game to play. And it's like, if there's an opportunity to sort of get away, yeah, it's nice to take that opportunity and to get away. And to maybe find a corner in the middle in some room, or find a toilet seat to rest on, or go to the parking lot, whatever. There are places to practice.
Yeah. So, do you have any advice to what I could do? Maybe some things to look at.
Really
maybe
enjoy being in seclusion. Build up that enthusiasm for it. Really, really see the fruit of it. Recognize the fruit of it whenever it is had.
Okay.
And to keep playing that game of seclusion. And to just touch on it a bit, it's not just necessarily being secluded from people. It's, we can practice being secluded from things like our phones, or watching things, or scrolling social media, or, there's all of these different ways to sort of practice seclusion. And then, of course, practicing seclusion in the mind by saying, let's forget about all that we've been thinking of, and just get away from that too.
Hmm.
And see the benefits for yourself there. That'll make it really easy to enjoy getting into seclusion. Really easy to see the value of it.
Yeah. And also, I guess, remember to look, if I find myself in those situations where I think I'm practicing, when I'm really not, like in an unsuitable environment, can remember to see hey, is this helping? And yeah, it's okay to make a change and leave, basically.
Yeah, remember to wake up. Remember to wake up to what is happening. People are basically going through life asleep. Asleep at the wheel, we might say.
Mhm.
So pay attention to what's happening. Pay attention to what's going on in the mind. Pay attention to the environment. Pay attention to the body. Yeah, these are the 2 points of advice that would be good. Okay, anything else, Younes?
No, this was great. Thanks, Mikey.
Excellent. Practice well. Practice well, dear friend. Take it easy. Don't worry.
Thank you.
Be happy. Take care. Get some rest. Enjoy doing not much of anything at all.
Yeah, I'll remember that.
Okay. Okay, we'll see you.
See you, Mikey.
Bye.